What's wrong, buddy? Got a little bit of domain dysfunction disorder? You know they make pills for that nowadays, King of Curses. You shut up! What's up, guys? Hello, Pencil here, and here we are to do a live reaction to chapter 230 of Jujutsu Kaisen, which is known as the decisive battle in the uninhibited demon-infested Shinjuku number 8. Jeez, we've been here for 8 chapters, y'all. 8 chapters? 8 chapters? That is crazy. We've been here for 8 chapters. Man. I don't know. It's just weird to think about in retrospect. Like, considering how long we were waiting for this fight to begin, it's weird to think that we're like 8 chapters and like 10 weeks into it. But regardless, I got a lot to talk about in this chapter. So let's not waste any more time and let's hop right into it. Editing me. Ready. 3, 2, 1, go. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. As you know, fun fact, I have it on me, and I do plan to keep it on me at all times. But let's not waste any more time, and let's hop right into chapter 230. Destruction Incarnate enters the ring. That's Maharaga. And that it is. Maharaga's still the coldest Shikigami. Like, I think, there's no... I really like Rika. I think Rika's super duper neat. And I even like the new incarnation of Rika, the nerfed Rika. But, like, it's just not close, bro. Like, even Giga Nue. Giga Nue is probably, like, in terms of sheer Shikigami, probably, like, my second favorite, just because I like how gigantic it is. But, like, just as a Shikigami, there's no one as cold as Maharaga. Like, look at bro. Look at bro. He's more built than, like, me and half of y'all. I know, like, the other half of y'all. Well, actually, no. All of y'all are really buff. Trust me, I know. Don't ask how I know, but I know. All of y'all are gym monsters. But regardless, man, I don't know. There's something just so cold about Maharaga. Maybe it's the fact that he has no eyes. Like, how does he see? Like, I still remember, like, I do wish, this is a sad thing about me getting into JJK as late as I did. I wish that I was, like, recording my reaction as I was reading through the series. Because, like, when Sukuna said, oh, you can see my curse technique, I literally had a moment where I paused, I looked at it, and I was like, see? Because bro ain't got no eyes. But regardless, yes, it is in fact Maharaga. It's interesting how it's called Destruction Incarnate. Like, is it really? Like, is it real? I don't know. Like, I suppose because its only purpose is destruction. Because, like, what did it do? It immediately destroyed Limited Void. But, like, I'm not sure if I would call it Destruction Incarnate. Like, it's not that deep. Like, I call Sukuna more so Destruction Incarnate. Or Chaos Incarnate. Or, like, something like that. Maharaga, he cool and all. But he ain't like that. Like, come on. Hop off his meat. Just a... the camera. No, hop off his meat just a teeny tiny bit. He ain't like that. However, with that being the case, obviously, everybody knows that Mei knows everything. And she immediately recognizes Maharaga. She says, so that's the crown jewel of the Zenin clan. And, it's the crown jewel like 2 people. Realistically, like, does Sukuna count as the second to last Zenin now? Like, does he count? Because there are only 2 Zenin left. there are only 2. And one of them probably doesn't even want to associate with the last name Zenin anymore. They just do, because everyone knows them by that. And the other one is a Fushiguro, who was, I mean, I guess they were promoted. Megami was promoted to leader of the Zenin clan, right? So technically, he is a Zenin clan. Like, he is a Zenin clan, yes. But he is the final Zenin clan member. He is the head of it. But, like, does he even have access to the bank accounts? Like, remember how it was established that Ogi, like, hid all the cursed tools and, like, resources that they had in their vault? Like, does anyone actually know where those are now? Does Megami have anything? Like, say they do save Megami. Say they get him out of Sukuna. Say everything goes well, which probably won't happen. But let's say it does happen like that. Level with me, dog. Level with me. Do they even have access to any of that? Like, I feel like every single person could have told Megami the bank passwords. Like, unless he got an email about it, I don't think he has access to anything anymore. Which makes it even more hilarious that Hikari is still here. Well, I mean, I guess Hikari kind of still has to be here because, like, if he doesn't help stop Sukuna or Kenjaku, then there's not going to be a world. But, like, in the context of the reasoning why Hikari decided to join the Culling Games, one of the big reasons was that the Zenin clan was going to help him get his fighting club legal under the rules of Jujutsu. There ain't a Zenin clan no more, bro. But to be fair, he's one of Gojo's students, and Gojo slaughtered all the higher-ups. So maybe Hikari doesn't even need that anymore. But then once again... other than the fact that he literally has to be here or the world ends, there's really no reason for Hikari to be fighting with these people anymore. He should just be out. chilling like a villain. I'm like, bro, there's no reason to be here. But once again, Mei Mei recognizes Mahoraga. And like, I'm gonna not harp on the same thing I harped on before. Like, how does she know that? Like, how does it, like, at least in my opinion, once again, I know I'm tangenting a little bit, but I feel like Mahoraga should be very similar to Purple. Like, it only makes sense that, like, the Gojo clan and the Zenin clan know about Mahoraga. Like, how common are 10 Shadows users? Because Sukuna didn't recognize it. Kenny actually hasn't interacted with Megami as far as I can remember, right? I'm trying to think. Yeah, I don't think there's any time in the narrative where Kenny and Megami have shared the same panel when Megami was in control of his body. So, we don't know if Kenny knew about it, but it seems like 10 Shadows users were rare. Like, then again, I guess not. Because, like, the 10 Shadows technique is more known as the Zenin clan technique than Projection Sorcery. Because Projection Sorcery started with Nobito. Like, I think Projection Sorcery literally can't even predate Nobito. Because, like, did they have animation? Like, did they have 24 frame animation before Nobito? I don't know. But it's very interesting. I figured Mahoraga would be more like a Purple thing. Like, you know how Toji, when fighting Gojo, was like, okay, let me check the Carfax real quick. Okay, he doesn't have domain. Blue, I can neutralize that. I can just dodge it. My speed's still effective. Red, I can kind of cancel red with Inverted Spear of Heaven. And teleportation, all that nonsense, I can work with that. But then he gets hit with Purple, and Gojo's like, oh yeah, you know, there are some, well, no, not Gojo. The narrator's like, while there are techniques that are common knowledge, there are some that are like so closely held within the pocket of the clan that people don't know about it. And that was Purple. You would think that Mahoraga would be that. Because if, then again, I guess maybe not. Because it's common knowledge that no one's ever... Then again, is it really, though? Because Megami's the only one who says that no one in the previous lineage of the Zenin clan has ever tamed it before. So, like, is it really? Is it really? Is it really? Is it really? Is it really that common knowledge? I don't know. It just feels... It still catches me off guard that Mei Mei knows about it. But also it catches me off guard because this does not look like Mei Mei. Like... I think it's because of how like wide open her eye is, the lack of shading on her hair. Like, I don't know, something about this does not look like Mei Mei. This looks like a character. This looks like how I would draw Mei Mei. Like, notably, if you go back to any of my reviews where I sketch things, remember that guy with the pencil? Give me a second, I'm gonna get back to that. But whenever I draw things, and I'm trying to go base for base, bar for bar, word for word with the manga, like my drawings are always slightly off. My hand is never anywhere near as stable as it could be. And thusly, my drawing that I'm slightly off, that looks like one of my drawings. It does not look like Mei Mei drawn by Gege. I don't know. Something about that drawing looks weird. However, we do get to see that Choso immediately recognizes it as a Shikigami with the ability to adapt to any attack. And someone brought up a good point. I guess since Choso is incarnated in a Kamo clan member, he likely knows about Mahoraga. And here's the thing. Choso knowing about Mahoraga, for some reason, is much more acceptable to me than Mei Mei not knowing about Mahoraga. Or no, than Mei Mei knowing about Mahoraga. I can take that more than I can take Mei Mei knowing about it. I don't know. Something about that seems strange. But I guess, you know, Mei Mei does run the underworld. She is the kingpin of crime. Queenpin? Is the queenpin a thing? Is it? I have no idea. But with that being the case, Itadori asked the important question, like, wait, nah, you're messing with me, right? Wait, you're saying you was even able to adapt to Unlimited Void? And yes, Yuji. But I guess not. Like, this chapter, I don't know, once again, we'll talk about it. This chapter is very strange. Like, I'm going to go into it in depth. This chapter is very, very off-kilter, at least in my opinion. But we see, as Yuji asked that, we cut right back to the main battlefield. And we see the crows who are, I guess... So, here's the thing, right? Blackbird technique is Mei's technique. Are these the cameras? I guess they are. We've seen Mei Mei hook things up there. How does that work, though? Like, I never thought about it, but, like, how do these crows at all, in whatever way, shape, or form, manage to transmit, like, their visual data to a TV screen? It's probably just some curse energy thing, but, like, I don't know. That seems so weird to me. However, with these crows flying over, we get arguably, I hate to say it, top 5 panels in this entire fight. Like, yo, why does this look so cold? Like seriously, it just looks so metal. Like, I'll even admit, Sukuna looks kind of metal in this panel. It does look it's kind of awkward because you see him literally healing and walking around. But the main thing, the way Maharaga's posed up like that, like, bro's got the arm real back. He got the other hand, like, bro looks like he's ready for action, bro. I love it. I don't know. This is one of my, I think this is literally like top 5 panels in this fight. Maybe top 3. Let me think. The only other panels I think are like, well, nah. There are some really good panels in this fight. I meant to do that. Maybe like top 5, top 10 panels from every single fight. But this is definitely one of them. One of the, I say probably my favorite panel of Maharaga. And Maharaga, like, since it's so rare, it always gets super duper good paneling. Like, even last chapter had a top 10 Maharaga panel. But like this one, it's just so cold. There's something about it. It has the exaggerated swagger of an 1,000-year-old Shikigami. But with that being the case, we see Sukuna is able to move. Nani, Daisuke bro was smacked with a limited void. How is he able to mobilize so quickly? Notably, it's not impossible for him to mobilize after unlimited void, but considering he was hit by it, you literally see him without the blinking. You literally do see him go, he makes the O face from all that information being raw dog straight into his head. He's moving. And like remarkable pace. And now notably, if he was hit with the 0.2 second domain that was used in Shibuya, I get him waking up this quickly. Mainly because we know it took the disaster curses in Choso to wake up. It took him like 3 minutes? Not 3 minutes. That's bad math. Mathematics. Usual about 5 minutes and some change. We don't know how long Kenjaku and Gojo were talking before Mahito woke up. So if it took 5 minutes and change to wake up from a 0.2, then I wouldn't be shocked if Sukuna, who's like in an entirely different dimension than those cursed spirits, likely could take a couple seconds. But I don't know. Feels weird that bro's able to move at all. Especially considering what's revealed later on in this chapter. Like, how did... It's so... This chapter, so it's wonky. It's very... Like, this is, I'd say, darn near every single previous thing that's had me... And had Kusakabe and had everyone else, like straight up looking like, huh? Like, almost everything else in this fight that has had us like that, I can rationalize. I can put some sort of method to the madness. I can see it. I mean, I like it, but I can see it. What's explained in this chapter, just, I don't know. Even after reading the translation, once again, I'm going to triple check. This is this translation. I read the raws, did the spoiler discussion, and I'm going to read the officials because I'm really interested to see how this gets explained in the officials, because even in this English translation, it just doesn't make sense. But obviously, you may be wondering, well, Pencil, why doesn't it make sense? Let's get into that. So we see Sukuna and Maharaga chilling, and we see that Sukuna starts plotting, thinking. Maybe this isn't Sukuna, maybe this is the narrator because we get the boxes, but we get a certain little individual explanation. We see as Maharaga and Sukuna are posed up. I love this duo. I don't know. This is such a cool duo. I wish we could actually see them fight together. Okay. I wish we could have actually seen them fight together. But with that being the case, we hit the narrator voice real quick. Gojo Satoru was well aware of Maharaga's abilities. In his battle with Yorozu, Sukuna used Maharaga's ability for himself. This is the narrator. Sukuna used Maharaga's ability for himself in order to see through her construction technique. The domain's sure hit effects canceled out each other a total of 5 times. Gojo Satoru's sure hit effect targeted everything within the domain. Sukuna's sure hit effect, however, targeted everything in the domain with the exception of himself, which meant that the sure hit was... Sorry, I'm super illiterate. Which meant that the sure hit targeting Sukuna was still in place. He continued to take on a limited void 5 times, all shouldering the Bergen. Sorry, I can't read. Breaking the street. He continued to take on the unlimited void 5 times, all shouldering the burden of Maharaga's adaptation. And the one who actually bore this burden was... He adapted to unlimited void within 0.01 seconds? There's just no way. Not only did the wheel not turn, but he summoned Maharaga after he took my attack. Oh. Okay, never mind. So here, now I don't even... Now here's the thing. This makes it even worse. I mean, it depends. Once again, I don't know. But if it really was 0.0... Well, actually, yeah, that's even worse. Because we know it was a 0.2 second domain back in Shibuya. That's what Gojo performed, and that's what Mahito performed. But if a limited void really got popped after 0.01 seconds... Well, yeah, then it make, like, I don't know. I feel like Gege went out of his way to make this way more complicated than it had to be. You literally could have just said, Sukuna's better at processing information than Mahito and the other cursed spirits were. In the last chapter, Gege even makes some sort of author comment about how like cursed spirits recover quicker. I didn't even like think about this, but like I don't know, it feels so off. But so Gojo's saying he adapted to unlimited void within 0.01 seconds. There's just no way. Not only did the wheel not turn, but he only summoned Maharaga after he took my attack. Did Sukuna take over the burden of Maharaga's adaptation ability? No. The one taking the damage to use the adaptation was Megami Soul. Now, here's my thing. I'm gonna make a whole video talking about it. I literally have the suit right over there. Trust me, the video's cooking. But this is gonna sound strange. This does not make Sukuna a fraud. I know this is an extremely fraudulent situation. It seems extremely fraudulent, but let me whip out the Googler for y'all real quick. Preview of the Is the Sukuna a Fraud video. If you're here, you get to hear a little bit of why I don't think Sukuna's a fraud. I think there are some things you can get Sukuna on fraudulent charges for. Mainly the statements he made very early in the series when he said once he takes over Itadori's body, Gojo's going to be the first person he's going to slay. Both of those were lies. He never took over Itadori's body, at least not permanently, and also when he did have any access over Itadori's body, he did not. The first person he slayed was definitely not Gojo. Those are the only two things that I can say fraud charges on explicitly. Mainly because what is the definition of fraud? Wrongful or criminal deception intended to result in financial or personal gain. He was convicted of fraud, prosecutions for social security frauds. A person or thing intended to deceive others, typically by unjustifiably claiming or being credited with accomplishments or qualities. So, within the context of the definition of the word fraud, because I've seen fraud's kind of been getting thrown at everybody, like people are even going back to previous things, like things that have already happened within the comment space, or files that have already happened, say, oh, they're a fraud, or they're a fraud, they're a fraud. And under this traditional definition of fraud, pulled up by the Googler itself, Sukuna is not a fraud for what he did here. He is simply a man using every resource at his disposal, and he's also evil. So of course, if he can find a way to skirt around dealing with Gojo, he's going to find a way to skirt around dealing with Gojo. I don't think Sukuna's a fraud for taking Megami's body. I don't think Sukuna's a fraud for using Megami's soul as a scapegoat. I don't think Sukuna's a fraud for using the 10 shadows. In fact, I think him doing all that only makes it even more impressive that Gojo's actually managing to last at all, because he realized that he in Itadori's body, or anybody that wasn't Megami and Fushiguro, was not beating Gojo. But the big thing that has me a little bit nettled here is that it feels like Gege yanked this out of his booty meat. Because, like I said, everything else before somewhat makes sense within the context of what this series has established. You just need to think long and hard about it. Like, you need to reach deep into your brain, like go back and reread some stuff. Like, the domain property altercations. We've already seen that. We literally saw Hikari shift the coordinates of his domain before. We've seen you can alter the properties of domain. Sukuna and Gojo can just do it at a really high level. Okay, heck, by the time we saw a various domain, we know that's not the natural variation of domain. We know that there are various levels of domains. The sure hit, sure slay, sure hit, information give, sure hit, special condition. So we know domain manipulation is a thing that can happen. Domain amplification and technique assigning to aspects within the domain. We haven't seen that before, but admittedly, that one kind of makes sense to me. It makes sense that one can imbue their technique within something else. Like Yuta has imbued his techniques inside of Rika. Sukuna has the shrine that he imbues his technique into to allow for Malevolent Shrine, while he himself uses domain expansion or domain amplification within Malevolent Shrine, just like Yuta imbues all the curse techniques he's copied inside of Rika and then draws them out when he needs them, and has Rika operate autonomously. Like the shrine he can activate and automate and do its thing autonomously. All that makes sense. Those are the two big things. I don't think Gojo and Sukuna have done anything crazy. The restoring RCT through burnout, that's another thing. It makes sense, especially considering what's established in this chapter, that it literally is engraved on the body. The curse technique is engraved in the flesh, which makes extra sense for someone like Gojo with the 6 eyes. Yeah, if RCT can heal basic wounds, it can heal poison, it can heal a bunch of junk, obviously he's going to be able to heal the part of the brain that gets burnt out or fried when used by reverse curse technique. Or no, when post-domain burnout, it makes sense that it can be healed by RCT. It does. All that makes sense. This does not make sense, at least to me. The way it's explained in the spoilers, the way it's explained in this translation, none of this makes sense. So, as you can see, Gojo says the thing that took on the burden of adaptation was Megami Soul. And we see this thing. Now, the reason I call it a thing is because what is this? Does his soul actually have a physical form? Does it? Does it? Because here's the thing, at least from my understanding of Unlimited Void, it doesn't attack your soul. It doesn't stuff your soul with unlimited information. It stuffs your head. And what is this? Like, take a look at this fella right here. What does he have? A brain. That big old thing in his head, he has a brain. So him swapping out souls and then coming back, because here's the thing, right? What's stated here is, in my opinion, even worse than the spoilers. Because in the spoilers, it was implied that, oh, all the damage was transferred to Megami Soul. But here, it says just the burden of adaptation was never on Sukuna. It was always on Megami Soul, which makes no sense. No sense at all. Because that implies two things. It implies that, one, Sukuna shouldn't have been able to adapt to nothing at all, or Maharaga shouldn't be able to adapt to nothing, because Megami Soul just shouldn't be that bulky. Like think about it. Should Megami Soul be able to eat a hollow purple? Do you think it should? I don't think so. Shouldn't. Should Megami Soul be able to tank Unlimited Void? I guess it did. Look at bro's eye, he's gone. Man is lost in the sauce. So I guess it could. But red, purple, why did all that happen in the way that it did? How can that work? And here's the thing, right? Say I do give mystical, magical, wonderful, beautiful stuff that Megami Soul managed to face tank everything. It just managed to do it because Sukuna was swapping places. That was the explanation I saw a lot in the spoiler discussion. Oh, well, what most likely ended up happening, just a bad translation thing, is that every single time that Sukuna was going to take a serious attack, whether it be a purple, whether it be a blue, whether it be a red, whether it be especially Unlimited Void, essentially he would just grab Megami Soul by the back of the head and put it first. Essentially just put Megami back in control. Like Sukuna put Yuji back in control right at the end of Shibuya. Well, not at the end of Shibuya, but right after the Shibuya massacre. The only thing is, though, you can go back throughout the entire fight. We never see the markings fade. That is at least, once again, based on what's established, that is a clear way to tell who is in control of the body. The markings never switch. So literally, it is what is said. The damage and the burden of adaptation was all forced on Megami Soul. But that doesn't make sense. Especially in the case of Unlimited Void. Because the way Unlimited Void works is not only does it, I don't know. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think it was ever stated to attack the soul. I think it literally, let me just double check. Once again, I'm going to go to the Googler on this one. So let's see if I'm incorrect or confused, because, I've been wrong many a time before, and I'm more than ready to be proved wrong now. Admittedly, I'm hopping straight to the wiki, because I do not remember off the top of my head what chapter Unlimited Void. Oh, actually, no, I can even do that. Please work. All right, there. Unlimited Void. Chapter 15. So I'll even double check chapter 15 after reading the wiki. Description. The domain expansion brings the user and their targets inside the limitless itself. A vast void of infinite knowledge, boundless raw information floods into the target's mind, overwhelming them to the point where they're completely immobilized. So, mind is very vague, especially within the world of Jujutsu Kaisen. But allow me to skip a little bit further into the head of the chapter to show you what is mentioned later. And before I start geeking, allow me to show you something. Sukuna's brain sustained enough damage to make the domain expansion impossible from Unlimited Void. So, tell me, how? How does that work then? How is the damage able to be transferred to Megami Soul, but the damage is still done to Sukuna's brain? And then, if the damage is done to Sukuna's brain, why did he have 10 whole seconds to have a whole conversation with Gojo? It doesn't, nothing, like, not all, it's like Gege had 3 different options on how to make this work, and he didn't pick one. And he said, fine, we're just going to choose all the above and hope no one asks any questions. But I'm sorry, I'm going to ask some questions, because, I don't know, it just don't make no sense to me. Like, once again, maybe I'm just missing a super easy, clear explanation. I scrolled through all y'all comments on the spoiler stuff. I didn't get to respond to all of them yet. Thank you all for commenting that much. Please comment on this video, too. In fact, leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already. Also, we do have the live reaction to this chapter on the Patreon. But regardless, and also as a membership, you want to become a member to the channel for as low as $3 a month, click down below. But regardless, enough shilling. The main thing that I'm so confused, like, and the main reason I'm like so hyper focused on this is because you can't have both. Because if it is that Sukuna's brain took damage and he was locked in, then he shouldn't have been able to summon Maharaga. If he wasn't in control of the body and Megami wasn't in control of the body, he shouldn't have been in control of the body in order to speak the incantation to summon Maharaga. And if Maharaga doesn't get summoned, Sukuna loses. The entirety of this chapter and the continuation of this fight is based on something that is not clearly explained, and the explanation we get can't work. See what I mean? This is why I'm putting so much emphasis on it. Because another thing y'all were talking in the comment section, I do appreciate this. Y'all are like, y'all, it's not that deep. It's never that deep. In fact, it's never that deep. And here's the thing, right? It's a manga fight. Whatever. Obviously, plot's got a plot for plot's sake. But you gotta stay hydrated. And 2, the big thing, it's the little things in this battle that matter the most. That matter? So many of y'all have told me I speak too fast, and you are all right, but I'm sorry. I'm never slowing down. So on my Speedy Gonzalez type talk, the most important thing about this battle is the little minute details. Little things like this, little explanations we get, they matter a lot, because this is a battle of inches. Even if I'm a Gojo Glazer, which I am also a Sukuna Slopper. I'm somewhere in between. I got my master's in Sukuna Slopping, but I did get my PhD in Gojo Glazing. So every single explanation we get for why something works and why something failed is important. The reason that I'm harping on this so much is because this battle, even if what I'm going to say in a later video sounds super contradictory to what I'm about to say, this battle is inarguably the most important in the series. Because whoever wins is going to have massive ramifications on what happens next. So whenever I see a win-con scenario, which is what last chapter was, Sukuna getting tagged literally is a win-con scenario, and it gets negated by nonsense, which is what this is. This is nonsense. I'm sorry, there's no other way. Now, unless once again I'm missing something, somebody can give me a nice, clear, concise explanation on how this works, then I'm going to be a little bit nettled. I'm a little bit nettled. And I may be extra nettled because it's the Gojo Glazer in me, but still, I'm just a little bit nettled in general, because this explanation makes absolutely no sense. But enough of me complaining about an explanation. Let's get to the rest of the chapter. So, with that being the case, we see that Maharaga gets immediately sent back to the Shadow Realm. And I'm going to use your words, Pencil. Use your words. I'm not going to lie. This is super disappointing. Now, hear me out. One of my things about this battle, I've been loving this fight. If you couldn't tell by the last couple of reviews, I've been saying every chapter is worthy. I've had my critiques and complaints up to this point, but every single thing. The one complaint that I've repeatedly had about this fight is that while Gojo is pretty much using everything at his disposal, from reds to blues to purples and all that, and even spamming his domain, Sukuna has been lackluster, to say the very least. One, because he's fighting Satoru Gojo. Obviously, a lot of the stuff won't work. But even still, in spite of that, I feel like we aren't getting what was promised. Sukuna with the 10 shadows implies certain things that we, as readers, just haven't been receiving. I want to see Sukuna drop the final Shikigami. I want to see Sukuna drop the Shikigami that are not restricted by Megami. Realize, even the gigantic Niue we saw was 1, only 15 fingers of Sukuna, and 2, still being limited by Megami being somewhat conscious inside him. We even get to see Myriad Elephant. That was once again 15-finger Maguna, and also a 15-finger Maguna that was still being suppressed by Megumi because he was fighting Megumi's sister. It was Yorozu, but Megumi's sister, Samuki. So we have yet to see all the Shikigami amped. And also, we have yet to see Sukuna really utilize this power that he went out of his way to go get. And this power that's keeping him in this limited form. And him immediately, us ending the previous chapter on Maharaga dropping, us ending the previous chapter with the implication that Maharaga had adapted to everything, us ending the previous chapter, getting my blood boiling with excitement, just to see Maharaga get immediately put back in timeout, that sucks. I don't know. I really don't like that. I would have loved to see, like, notably, once again, a way to completely avoid my last, 10 minutes of complaining about the lack of clear explanation for this. The best way to do that is to just literally give us Gojo versus Maharaga. You already, here's the thing. I'm an active, well, not an active member, but I'm in the fandom. So maybe Yeye sees this differently. But if I'm Gege, I have essentially convinced, at the end of 229, I've convinced everybody that Maharaga has adapted to everything. He's been in the shadows the entire time. He's adapted to red. He's adapted to blue. He's adapted to purple. He's adapted to Unlimited Void. I've convinced everyone of that, if I'm Gege. So what I'm going to do, if I want to put a pause on Sukuna, I just let Sukuna sit in Unlimited Void and actually get to see Gojo versus Maharaga. Something that I don't think it's quite unusual to say that a lot of us have been hoping for. And especially considering that Maharaga has been hyped up as the one thing that actually slayed a six-eyes and limitless user before. So I think a lot of us were ready to see that run back, to see that battle. But he just gets put away. He's a secret tool that'll help us later. Yeah, true, he is. But I would have liked to see that secret tool help us now. I would have wanted to see that. And especially considering there are still questions about Maharaga. Can it adapt to defensive techniques that do not inherently harm it? Can it adapt to something like the Infinity? Can Gojo, or no, we know Gojo should have a maximum. What is the maximum? You could have defeated Maharaga with that. What happens if Maharaga dies? Legitimately, we know totality exists. So what is Maharaga's totality? If Maharaga gets destroyed and has its cursed energy and ability spread out to the rest of Shikigami, what does that mean for it? What is the final 10 shadows? There's still so many things that are kind of just hidden away about Maharaga. And I was really excited to see some of those be shown off in this fight. But he just gets put away. And once again, I'm not Gege. I am not a manga writer. Not even to be fair, I'm not even a real writer. I like to write stories, but half of them are fan fiction, half of them are versus battles / stuff for the channel, and the other half, yes, I know that's 3 halves, is stuff that I want to complete, but I just have not found the dedication to sit down and I literally have a whole 10-page book, not 10. Yes, I have more than 10 pages written down, but I literally have a whole 10-book series right up here. I know the beginning, middle, end, all the characters that will be featured in it, all the mythology I'd like to cover in it. Yes, it's that kind of series. I grew up reading Percy Jackson, let me be. But I have all that in the Domer. Never written that out. So trust me, when I say this is a weird writing choice, do not take this as me, a random dude on the internet, saying that me, that guy with the pencil, is a better writer than Gege Akutami. Trust me, I am not. But I do admit this is a pretty weird writing choice. Not only doing this weird Megami Soul taking the bird and stuff, but then immediately putting Maharaga away after you hyped up the battle between Maharaga and Gojo for a hot minute. Hyped up the 10 shadows versus the limitless and 6-eyes user for a hot minute. This is a little bit disappointing. If we really go the rest of this battle, and who knows, maybe this battle can keep going for another 10, 15 chapters. I highly doubt that. I feel this battle's going to end in 3 chapters. I don't think we're going to get a 12 chapter fight. But if we really go through this entire battle and this is the only usage of the 10 shadows, maybe a little disappointed. Not a little, very disappointed. This is what this is what I low-key came to see. If I had to take a guess on why Gege's doing this right now, but here's the thing, I don't think, because regardless, once again, spoilers for that one video I'm planning, but if I had to take a guess, if I had to take a solid guess on what Gege's cooking, it's that after this fight concludes, I think either there are 3 ways this fight could go. 1, it's a tie. And they both, like the 6 Eyes Limitless user and the 10 Shadows user of, 400 years ago, they both end up offing each other. That's it. They both neutralize. The strongest versus the strongest, collapse, done. They both end up perishing. Or B, I can't make a B with my hand. B, Sukuna wins. And Sukuna ends up super duper fatigued, super duper tired, super low on coast energy, and like struggling to escape. And before any of the Jujutsu High crew can get there, Kenjaku shows up and it's like, oh, hey Sukuna, you know I want to do the merger, right? And then immediately uses Sukuna for the merger. Or C, what I feel like is the most likely option, Sukuna gets beaten by Gojo. But Gojo is super duper fatigued. As you see at the end of this chapter, he's not doing all too hot. And after an even more extended battle with Sukuna, after exerting even more of his energy and pushing his body even further to the limits, he just barely beats Sukuna. Barely, by the skin of his teeth. And then Kenjaku shows up and is like, hey, yo, it's good, dude. You know, I want to start the merger. And then it starts the merger. Like, I think no matter what, the way this battle ends, Kenjaku's going to start cooking. So the secret fourth option is that Sukuna wins, and then I guess the Jujutsu High crew shows up, and then he drops the Shikigami on them. But the thing is, if he drops the Shikigami on them, they lose. Like, being real with you, unless Yuta has Angel's technique, or Angel's willing to get active, there is no way, I mean no way on this good green earth, that any of our current cast, based on what I know of their scaling, is beating 20 Finger Newer, is beating 20 Finger Divine Dog, is beating 20 Finger Rabbit Escape, or is beating the Tranquil Deer, or is beating any. Like, realize Sukuna at 15 fingers was dropping things that I already think solo a majority of the verse. I think 9 out of 10 characters in JJK get beat by 15 Finger Niue. Like, legitimately, if I were to start including Shikigami as unique characters, 15 Finger Niue would be a top 10 character. I want you to know that. So I just don't see our cast really cooking like that. So I don't know. Very, very disappointed in Gege for not using the 10 Shadows more. This is what Sukuna went out of his way to go get. I wanted to see it, Gege. Who knows? We're only on chapter 230. The fight started in 220. Who do we want? Fight started in 222. So, who knows? There's still time. There's still definitely time for more. But I am a little bit disappointed that Maharag is going back to bed. But with this being the case, we see Sukuna being like, what's up? Look like you have something on your mind, huh? Did I do something completely nonsensical and breaking all the rules of the plot? It's not fun what happens to you, is it, Gojo? But we do get to see as Maharaga disappears with a puff. Because that's what the strong Shikigami does. Just poofs away. We see that Gojo's like, not really. It just warms my heart seeing you so desperate. And here's another thing, right? I didn't mention it in the Sukuna Frog. I keep talking. This is the bad thing. This is why I got to record videos and release them before I start, before I do reviews and stuff like this. Because a lot of my ideas come forth. Like, I don't know if y'all know, I literally have a whole Google Doc full of videos. Some of those videos are backdated by like a year. Like, I have like 50 videos on there, but I try to keep doing videos that I think are relevant and that keep popping in my head and the ones I'm most excited to record about. So some videos just fall down the pipeline. But another big thing, what Gojo brings up here is very true. And I feel like it's hampered Sukuna's image. It just warms my heart seeing you so desperate. And that's what I have to say. As a former Sukuna slobber, as a man with my masters in the field, I gotta say this. Sukuna just ain't been hitting the same, dog. Here's the thing, right? I'll say the last time Sukuna really hit different was when he won Tabaryu. Something about him again in the Yorozu fight just didn't feel right to me. Like, I think it's mainly because he was trying to use the 10 Shadows to show off and to, like, do his thing. So, like, he has a special win con in that battle. But, like, Sukuna's sort of been on a downhill. But I think it's mainly just because of power. Not power creeps is the wrong word to put it, because Gojo's been here since the start of the series. But Sukuna in Shibuya felt like a force of nature. Sukuna against Ryu felt like a force of nature. Heck, Sukuna against Maki and Itadori, the way he was manhandling them while nerfed in terms of cursed energy output, that felt like a monster, a beast. But I don't know. Seeing Sukuna, a character who was so prideful that when facing Jogo, on terms that he set up for Jogo to just land one hit. He looked Jogo dead in the face and said, "Don't worry, I won't cheat by revealing my curse technique." And he had like a relatively fair fight with him. Sukuna, despite being a character that is a villain, don't get me wrong, Sukuna fans, I understand, he's very, very evil. Trust me. If anyone knows that Sukuna's evil, I know that Sukuna's evil. But he was a villain with standards, right? Like, you feel me? You feel like Kenjaku is... I always make this comparison, and my friends get sick and tired of it, but I don't think they'll be watching this part of the video. Kenjaku is like Xehanort. Kenjaku didn't really care what needed to be done for him to win a fight. For him to get a dub, Kenjaku didn't really care. Same thing with Xehanort. Xehanort... Let me do it. Xehanort pulling up spoilers for Birth by Sleep, a game that is literally, what, 13 years old now? 13? Kingdom Hearts? Xehanort going like this and being like, how did he do that? How tall is Xehanort? This thing's long. Like, how did he reach like that? Bro, it's crazy. But going like this, releasing his heart and possessing like a young adult in Terra to get a new body in order to get to work on his master plan, yeah, that seems like a Xehanort move. Same thing with Kenjaku. Kenjaku took back shots for a side piece of his plan. Remember that. Remember that. I'm going to stop because I'm afraid. But regardless, those seem like villains that don't really have standards. They don't have moral codes. They don't have ideologies that they care about. But Sukuna always seemed like a guy who would be above this. You know what I'm saying? Like, the king of curses. He just had standards. And seeing him resort to hiding behind a 15-year-old, like, doesn't, like, even if it doesn't make him a fraud, which I don't think it does. Once again, he is using every resource at his disposal. If he does not use his resources, that doesn't make him a fraud. That makes him stupid. So, him using the resources available to him, fine. But it feels weird to me. I hate to say it, it feels a little bit out of character. I feel like 15-Finger Sukuna in Shibuya would not have used Megami as a meat shield, despite that literally being his plan in Shibuya. Like, does anyone else know what I'm saying? Like, it technically makes sense for his character. It just doesn't feel appropriate for his character. The King of Curses, hailed as the strongest, hiding behind a 15-year-old. Like, really? Really? King of Curses, hailed as the strongest, revered across the lands for being an imaginary war deity. Can't beat a 28-year-old without a stolen technique. Like, really? Like, I don't know. It just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right to me. That's my main issue with this fight. It feels like Sukuna just isn't as himothy as he once was. And here's the thing. I get it. I'm going to say it now. The reason he doesn't feel as himothy is because he's fighting Satoru Gojo. Like, Gojo, he is the strongest character in the manga. Gege said it himself. One of these characters was sealed away in a box for like 2 to 3 years because they made the story hard to write. I get it. But like, darn, man. I guess this is what happens when you meet someone that's relative to you. You just get a little bit disappointing. But with that being the case, we see that as Gojo mocks Sukuna for being desperate and hiding behind a 15-year-old, Sukuna's like, look who's talking. Unlimited Void, an ability that activates inside your domain. Honestly, I figured it was going to be a real pain. That's why my first move was to take that card out of the deck. So, once again, and this is something I actually do like about Sukuna. This is something that I will admit. He does respect people. He does respect things that have any sort of power behind them. Things that he could remotely view as a threat. He does go out of his way to acknowledge and respect. He was like, when he ran into Mahoraga, he was like, yo, man, props to you. If you bet me when I was 3-Finger, you would have had that. He does respect that. When faced with something like a limited void, he knows it. He's like, that could be an issue. Let me prep for that. I do like that. Sukuna, while arrogant, he is not stupid. Some villains, some very common and popular villains, they would have known about Infinite Void and done absolutely nothing about it and then be shocked why they lost to Unlimited Void. That's usually how that goes. But for Sukuna, I do like the fact that he respects it and made preparations for taking the card out of the deck, as he puts it. And he goes on to say, While unable to use amplification. No, that's the narrator voice. While unable to use amplification. That hurts my throat. What voice do I give Sukuna? I've voiced Sukuna. What voice have I given Sukuna before? And that text is really, really small. Hold on, let me get a little bit closer. Hold on. While unable to use amplification within the domain, I had Fushiguro Megami adapt Unlimited Void using his 10 Shadows technique. As a result, I couldn't use any cursed technique other than what was imbued in my domain. I suppose that paid off in its own way. All he took on was the process of adaptation, and not the resulting adaptation, right? So let's explain here, is that, and this feels weird, right? Because, once again, in JJK, according to Kenjaku and Mahito's theory, the body is the soul, and the soul is the body. It's the transitive property. Like, it is just straight up, a square is a rectangle, and a rectangle, well, now, what is it? It's like a square and a rectangle. The body and the soul are both a square and a rectangle. In the end, they are both rectangles. They are essentially the same thing. So when Megumi, or Maguna, says here that he had Fushiguro adapt to Unlimited Void using his 10 Shadows technique, how did he do that if he is currently infused with Megumi? How? Like, Unlimited Void should still hit him, especially considering it specifically, once again, it targets the mind. Fushiguro's mind isn't even active right now. He's literally a soul within a body. But once again, if the soul is the body and the body is the soul, the fact that Megumi was getting hit by it at all should mean that Sukuna should have been affected if the body-soul thing is true. But if the body-soul thing isn't true, see where my issue lies? If the body-soul thing is true, Megumi or Maguna should have lost. Because the moment Unlimited Void hit, he wouldn't have been able to adapt to it. It should have been just that. Easy, automatic loss. Because the body is the soul and the soul is the body. Even though it's Megumi's soul being infected, Megumi is currently inhabited by Sukuna, who's wielding Megumi's body. And body equals soul hampered by Unlimited Void, body hampered by Unlimited Void. Megumi, Maguna, hampered by Unlimited Void. Paralyzed. That's how it should have gone. But if the body and the soul are not the same, then the mind, the brain, should still be affected by Unlimited Void. And thus, Sukuna should have been paralyzed regardless. There should be, at least within the way this is explained, there should have been no way for Sukuna to call Maharaga. No way. Once again, unless I'm missing something, there should have been no way for Sukuna to call Maharaga specifically with how this is explained. Because he should have been paralyzed. And here's the thing, right? We know that souls and bodies are interfused when interacting with domain techniques. We see this way back when with Mahito. Remember when Sukuna encountered Mahito for the first time? He was like, "Hey, I had a good laugh with you, so I'm gonna let you live, but don't do this again, bro." It was Mahito attempting to hit Itadori, for the most part, with his self-embodiment of perfection, with his soul manipulation technique. But Mahito realizes that if he tries to hit Itadori, he's going to be hitting Sukuna because they're intertwined. They are literally linked. So any effect that Mahito could have on Itadori would also be affecting Sukuna. But since Sukuna's soul was so strong, it reflected back negatively, and thus Mahito could actually accidentally off himself by trying to get rid of Itadori through using his curse technique because Sukuna's soul was so interfused. So why isn't it the same case with Megumi? If Megumi's soul is still super sunk, super duper deep, but it's still tied into Sukuna's soul, linked at the hip like this, then how did Megumi tank Unlimited Void for Sukuna when Sukuna should have been getting hit regardless? Like, sorry. Doesn't make sense. I'm not going to let this one slide. This is bad writing. I'm going to say it. I've been avoiding saying it. 49 minutes in. If you're still here, you're going to hear me say it. This is bad writing. This is booty meat writing. This is, I wanted to extend the battle further. And here's the thing, you could have done it. You could have just done it. You could have just had Maharaga pop out, stab out, and fight Gojo. You did not have to do this mess, Gege. This feels wrong. But with it being the case, Gojo points out an even weirder thing. So what he says here is that all he took on was the process of adaptation and not the resulting adaptation, right? Sukuna, you haven't actually adapted Megami's soul itself to a limited void. If I open my domain again, Mahoraga won't be able to bail you out. I'll destroy it in one attack. So wait! Even weirder! How? So essentially what Gojo says here is that Megami didn't actually adapt to nothing. He didn't adapt to purple. He didn't adapt to red. He didn't adapt to blue. He didn't adapt to nothing. He just undertook the process of adaptation, not the resulting adaptation. So if he didn't adapt to nothing, if Megami Soul didn't adapt to nothing, then how was Mahoraga able to ignore Unlimited Void? Huh? How? First, we already have the issue that Sukuna should have been able to adapt to Unlimited Void or be able to face tank it because of how it's explained. But then we have the bigger issue that Mahoraga wasn't even adapted according to this, at least based on what Gojo says. And at least from my understanding of how Sukuna reacts, Sukuna doesn't correct Gojo on this. So Gojo's right. Mahoraga didn't even adapt. So how did Mahoraga survive Unlimited Void? Why wasn't he paralyzed if he didn't adapt to nothing? How does this even work? Like, now it makes last chapter scenario even more confusing. Like, Gege literally went out of his way to make the previous chapter and this chapter make even less sense. Why would you say that? Like, you literally could have just said Mahoraga adapted. Sure, would have been rough and it would make even less sense why Sukuna would put it away, but why? I'm even extra giga confused on how this is working, because it ain't working. The math is not mathing right now. So you're telling me Mahoraga didn't adapt to anything, and thusly it can still be affected in one shot by Gojo's techniques, but it managed to move in Unlimited Void even though it should have been instantly paralyzed? Like, I'm lost in the sauce right now, because we know Cursed Spirit / Shikigami should, for all intents and purposes, be affected by something like Unlimited Void. They do have brains. If Mahoraga with no eyes can see Sukuna's technique, then Mahoraga with no, he probably does have a brain, should be affected. It should have a mind, because it can think, it can adapt. It should be affected by Unlimited Void. So how is it not affected by Unlimited Void if it never adapted to anything? Genge, what is this? Like, I don't know. Smells like malarkey. Smells like a whole ton of malarkey. That's all I gotta say. It smells like a bunch of malarkey. But with that being the case, moving on from my endless complaints about this chapter, we see Gojo being like, I bet. Let's just do this again now. Boop. He goes to open Unlimited Void. We see Sukuna, big chillin', not even trying to respond this time. In fact, he's posted up like this. Like, go ahead, kiddo. Try it. And we see that Sukuna goes on to say, you can no longer open domain. And we see there's an electric sound effect. And suddenly, from the previous chapters, the nose starts dripping. Oh Lord, why is the room spinning, bro? Why is this thing moving like that? It's got me moving. I don't know about y'all. Have y'all ever been lightheaded before? Like, notably, sometimes if I'm like feeling silly, feeling goofy, or there's not enough room, I will just like hang upside down off of something. Don't ask what something I'm hanging upside down off of. You will never get an answer. But whenever I hang upside down, on the rare occasion that I do, it's becoming a less rare occasion nowadays. But still, whenever I hang upside down on something, that lightheadedness, it always messes with me. Like, I don't remember having nosebleeds when I was younger, or ever really. But like, I know Gojo's head hurts. I've had headaches before, bro. And if this headache is causing him to drip like this, I know for a fact that bro is in pain right now. And we do get to see that it's not us who just gets to see that Gojo starts dripping. Everyone starts dripping. Or yes, everyone starts dripping. But no, we see Kusakabe notices, what just happened? And we see that Yuta is like, oh no, my bad feeling turned out to be right. I'm going to have to summon. I'm going to fight Sukuna. I don't want to fight him. And okay. You want to talk about an actual fraud? It's not Sukuna. We need to redirect our ire. The actual fraud is this man right here. Look at the blessed child. He has not been drawn. I swear, every single chapter, he has yet to be drawn without a sweat mark. We probably have more panels of Yuta with a sweat mark than we actually have of Yuta using his curse technique. Think about that. Think about that. In comparison, we probably have more sweat mark Yuta from these past couple chapters than we have probably seen Yuta in the entire series. Like, Yuta, appearance-wise, probably has more appearances with this sweat mark than he does as like just a regular character. That is crazy. But we see that, yes, Yuta You fraudulent little boy. But then again, here's the thing. Even as I clown on Yuta, I do not blame him. I would not want to sub in either. I would, after seeing what I've seen in this battle, I would not want to sub in. Nope. You give somebody else to do it. Like double it and give it to the next person. Double it and give it to Kashimo. Give Sukuna 40 fingers and let Kashimo fight him. Not me. So I can't even blame Yuta. But with that being the case, we do get to see that Sukuna begins to explain what's going on here as Gojo attempts to wipe and get ready to engage in the fight again. Using reverse curse technique to heal your exhausted innate technique. Looks like you've strained yourself a bit. Your curse technique is etched into your brain, roughly around your right prefrontal cortex. You've been using cursed energy to damage your own brain, and using reverse curse technique to refresh your burnt out technique. So, I was right. I was right. I mean, let me take a sip a little bit. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I'm running out of water. I have to finish this quickly before I run out of liquid. But I hope y'all know, whenever I record these long videos like this, I go through at least this whole thing. I'm not even gonna say at least, usually this whole thing's done. I have to go reheal before. Whenever I do bulk recording sessions, my voice is done by the end of the day. But with that being the case, I was right. Because notably when Gojo started nosebleeding, and a lot of other Gojo Glazers, y'all were against me on this one. I was gonna be wrong. But what I mentioned when Gojo got the drip, I believe at the end of chapter 228, if I'm not mistaken, or yeah, at the end of 228, and then he wiped it away last chapter. I mentioned that bro's brain was probably a bit burnt out. It was probably getting stressed from a lack of combat at this high level. And technically, you could say I'm half right, because it is his brain that's damaged and is causing this, even with the refresh of RCT flowing through it. But it does appear that the right prefrontal cortex, so as Sukuna points right here, where the curse technique is etched, while it is able to be healed, it's still not supposed to do that. You ain't supposed to do that. Here's the thing. What's an equivalent example? So usually when your body heals, it's harder to break it. I believe everyone's heard about once you break a bone, it'll grow back stronger. It reinforces itself so that same trauma cannot happen to it again. But the thing is, sometimes it doesn't work like that. A lot of times it doesn't work like that, actually. Sometimes when you break a bone, that thing is permanently pseudo-broken. You need to be ginger with it for the rest of your life. I know many people who have broken their ankles, broken their hands, broken their wrists, heck, I know one guy broke his femur. And their doctors all told them, yeah, even though you're fully recovered and you can go back to regular working and walking and stuff like that, don't do anything too strenuous to it because it'll just shatter again. It is not the same as it was before. A fresh bone is always better than a new bone. I mean, I suppose a new bone is a fresh bone, but you know what I mean. A repaired bone is lesser than a fresh bone. And the same case is with Gojo's usage of RCT to restore his technique. So essentially, Gojo has been beating his brain every single time he uses domain expansion. That's why the brain calms down and essentially rebuilds itself seemingly automatically, which is very impressive for non-RCT users. It's impressive that people can restore their domains at all if the prefrontal cortex gets damaged every single time a domain is used. But healing it once is one thing, and healing automatically is one thing too. But healing it only to break it again, and to heal it again, then to break it again, then to heal it again, then to break it again. You're essentially making that brain more and more fragile. That piece, or that bone in this scenario, more and more fragile. Oh, it's basically just paper. It's basically just brittle. Even attempting to put weight on it, even attempting to put the tiniest bit of pressure on it, like Gojo attempting to open a domain here, causes his brain to break. His brain can't take the stress of opening another domain, so it immediately reflexes with damage, even though it's consistently being healed, which is very, very interesting. It does mean essentially, this is actually kind of bad for Gojo Crossroads. Actually, not really, because seemingly enough, it's only his domain that gets locked off here. It doesn't seem like anything else gets locked off here, just his domain. So, I mean, it doesn't bear too badly for Gojo, but still, very, very interesting that Gojo doesn't really have, like, unlimited stamina, specifically in regards to domain. We're not sure how this works with everything else. I think everything else, he still pretty much has unlimited stamina. Like, I think he can fire infinite purples. He can fire infinite reds, infinite blues, mainly because, like, those don't destroy the brain, they just utilize the right prefrontal cortex area that has the brain. Right prefrontal cortex area that has the brain. It uses the curse technique etched onto the brain in order to do its darn thing. You know what I'm saying? So I do think ultimately that he's still really good. If you can just tank a whole bunch of unlimited voids, though, that's when he's gonna run into trouble. And we see that Yuta even admits that using that even once is way too risky. And Gojo used it, what, 4 times? Ever since his first domain broke, he's been restoring it forcefully. So he has 4 times of just essentially putting a band-aid on like a broken wall that holds back a lot of water, because I'm not sure if I can say the other word. But with that being the case, we do get to see that the brain, especially the part of the brain where the curse technique is concerned, is a black box. Isn't as simple as thinking about healing it than just doing that. And in computer science, a system that operates, we have no knowledge of its inner workings. I don't know. That's an interesting way to put it. Whenever I hear the term black box, I think of the black box that's in airplanes. It's actually orange. Fun fact. You don't know what the black box is? It contains like all the flight data and information within a plane. And the reason it's orange is that if the plane goes down, they can get the black box, so they can find it in the wreckage and then figure out why the plane went down. Fun fact for the next time you go flying. But with that being the case, you know where I learned that from? Leverage. I'm not sure if I can recommend that show. I mean, I love it. It's one of my favorite shows of all time. But like, I'm not sure if I can like legally recommend it. We are not sponsored. But with it being the case, we do get to see that Choso's like, okay, so based solely on the amount of times he's done it already, he should be at death's door. And we see that Yuji even brings up, he did something that reckless 4 times? And just a second ago makes it 5 times. Kinda, sorta. The domain didn't even open, so I'm not sure. I don't think this one counts as a 5th. But with that being the case, Shoko realizes and says, I thought Gojo had been getting used to healing his brain, but it looks like he's suffering the sequelae? The sequelae now? I have no idea what that means. Welcome to Googling with Pencil. How did I miss that? I think I got just phased over whatever Shoko said. Sequelae? Sequelae. Definition meeting Merriam-Webster. Sequela. The after effect of a disease, condition, or injury. Oh, okay. Word of the day, sequelae. But that's interesting. So Gojo, essentially the excuse here for why Gojo's consistent refreshing of his brain isn't working on this one is because this is just like, once again, higher than he's ever done it before. And he's trying to restore something that he doesn't necessarily have the full understanding of. Fun fact, we to this day do not fully understand the brain. You think I'm kidding? Look, well, let me make sure I'm not kidding. But no, I'm not even going to check. I'm this confident in this. I heard it in a recent video. Trust the internet for everything, kids. Trust that guy with the pencil for everything. But we don't actually fully understand how the brain works. We have not been able to like properly upload a human brain and understand everything. We still don't exactly know where consciousness comes from. There isn't like a consciousness part of the brain. Fun fact. We know the hippocampus is for memory, I do believe. We know that the prefrontal cortex, we know the right side of the brain is for the left side of the body, we know the left side of the brain is for the right side of the body. We know all that. But we don't actually know how you or me or anyone really exists. Like, what is the difference between us and not us? If you were to hypothetically give a brain electricity afterwards, would it still be conscious? We have no idea. So Gojo's diving into a super unspecified field which he could never have the hope of fully understanding. We understand how us growing back limbs works, or how our general healing works. Gojo could figure that out. But the brain, even the best scientists of our modern day don't really know how to do that. And what? Isn't JJK based in 2016, 2017? So they're even further behind than us. And while 6 years isn't that long, it's long enough. So with that being the case, it seems like, according to Shoko, that Sukuna, since he's done it less, he's only had his domain broken, first time, second time, third time. He's only done it 3 times compared to Gojo's 4. He's doing a lot better. Or at least, relatively better. And with that being the case, we see that Sukuna goes on to say, you've reached the limit completely separate from healing your flesh and bones. Supposing you could expand your domain again, you'd perish the moment you did so. Not to mention the fact that you wouldn't be nearly precise enough to oppose me. I'm gonna clown on him a little bit. No, don't worry. I'm gonna clown on Gojo, not Gojo, on Sukuna in a second. But we see Sukuna say, "Next, I'll close the barrier of my domain, and you will be left with nowhere to run. And while I carve you into pieces, I'll even adapt to that infinity of yours." This is, once again, very interesting phrasing. Definitely interested to see the official translation on this one. Adapt to infinity? He doesn't say the limitless here. He says specifically adapt to infinity. And he plans to do this by summoning Maharaga's wheel above his head. But, number one, I thought that's not how that worked. I thought any adaptation that Sukuna did specifically went to Maharaga. Right? I have no idea. And two, infinity is just a neutral limitless. How is he going to adapt to something that doesn't attack him? And two, if he's opening domain, then the infinity is going to be shut down regardless of why he would be adapting to infinity. I'm going to assume this is just a weird translation thing. For the sake of my sanity, I'm going to assume it's a weird translation thing. I'm going to see what Viz says about this, even though Viz is also not always right. Like, Viz said both Gojo and Geto can control cursed armies to wipe out countries. Yeah, Gojo doesn't do that. But with that being the case, oh no, literally the Viz translation said Gojo and Geto use cursed spirit manipulation to control grotesque armies. Last I checked, Gojo does not have cursed spirit manipulation etched into his brain. Wait! Hold on a second. Hold on. Wait a minute. Now I'm extra confused. Hold on. Completely unrelated. This is what happens when I think too much. I don't be thinking much, but whenever I do, it's usually on camera and it usually ends up hurting me. How the heck does Kenjaku work? Because he transfers his brain, right? Like he transfers his brain between vessels? Or is it like how does it work? Like, is that Geto's brain? Well, no, here's the thing. Regardless if it was Geto's brain or not, how does Kenjaku, does he graft that piece of the brain onto his existing brain? Is that why he can only have a limited amount of technique? How does that work? If the curse technique is etched onto the brain, the right prefrontal cortex, how do Yuta and Kenjaku keep techniques? Do they steal the etching? Like, I really wonder how that works now. That's weird. I don't know. Now I need to think about it. I'm going to think about that more in depth, but that seems weird. But at least by how Sukuna explains it, Kenjaku shouldn't be able to use Geto. Well, no, he shouldn't be. He shouldn't be able to use Geto's technique either. If he literally unscrewed Geto's head, popped it off, took out Geto's brain, threw it in the trash, and then put his brain in, then he should have lost curse spirit manipulation if the curse technique is etched into his brain. And same thing with Yuta. Because I don't know, Rika took a bite out of Uro's arm, not her brain. Same thing with Druv. Well, Druv didn't get a bite. Yuta can copy unconditionally. I don't care. Ryu was wrong. And, like, obviously, Inumaki still has his technique and a brain. Like, how does that work? I wonder. So, whenever they use techniques, does, like, the etching appear on their head? I'm sorry. I'm getting super tangential. But, yeah, this is just a weird sentence. I'll even adapt to that infinity of yours. That makes no sense. The adaptations that are done by the wheel for Sukuna specifically transfer over to Maharaga. It's not Sukuna's technique, it's Maharaga's technique. I don't get how that's supposed to work. But with that being the case, we see that Sukuna says, "This is goodbye. You were born in an era without me, and hailed as the strongest. And yet you turned out to be painfully ordinary." Sukuna, level with me real quick, dog. If he was so painfully ordinary, why did you go out of his way to steal his son's body and technique? You're telling me painfully ordinary people are able to break your domain, not once, not twice, but thrice. Regular, painfully ordinary people are able to beat you within a domain battle numerous times. Like, really, Sukuna? Really? Painfully ordinary? Really? I'm not sure I'm buying all that, buddy. I'm not sure I'm buying that, buckaroo. However, we do get to see that as Sukuna talks all this smack, starts going all deep and all crazy like that, he really starts insulting Gojo and all that. Domain expansion, malfunctioning shrine. Just like Gojo before him, Sukuna attempts to open domain. But unfortunately for Sukuna, it immediately shatters. And we see everybody in their mama, Itadori, Yuta, Kusaka. I love it's always Kusakabe being used in these reaction shots. Like, you have other characters there. Why not use the other characters? And Kashimo. Speaking of, now 100%, especially after this, if Kashimo does tag in and beat 20 Figure Sukuna, it's super not valid. It's omega not valid, bro. Like, really? I don't know, bro. This is super not valid. And like that, if Kashimo jumps in now and wins, it doesn't count. But with that being the case, Sukuna is now even worse than Gojo, because at least Gojo was just dripping from the nose. Sukuna, I don't think... Wait, hold on. Wait, my eyes. Amaterasu. Tsukuyomi. like that's what bro got the Omega Amaterasu. Bro just awakened the Mangekyo Sharingan on the next level. Look at his Tomoe pattern, bro. That's crazy. He skipped the base Sharingan too, went straight to Mangekyo. But bada bing, bada boom. Sukuna, after talking all that smack, calling Gojo ordinary, regular degular, dumb bubblegum built like a fraud, he ends up dripping. And dripping even worse than Gojo. Like, you know it's bad when even his side eyes, his little side eyes are dripping. That's how bad this is for Sukuna. And when you see, as the narrator says, it hadn't even been 10 seconds since Sukuna took a blow from Unlimited Void. So Sukuna did take the blow. Gege, what are you doing? Is this whole chapter just a lie to me, Gege? Let me know, Gege. What is this writing? What is this writing? It's making absolutely no sense to me, Gege. It's making absolutely no sense to me, Gege. What is this writing? Gege, I need help. You need to clarify things, Gege. What do you mean Sukuna took a blow? I thought Megami Soul took the blow. What do you mean Sukuna took the blow? But since Sukuna took a blow from Limited Void, and yet just like Gojo Satoru, Sukuna's brain sustained enough damage to make the domain expansion impossible. So, what? So if he sustained the blow from Unlimited Void, then he should be piggity paralyzed. But he isn't. But I thought Megami Soul took the... Once again, I'm gonna hold out hope that the official translations can make some better sense of this. But right now, what? None of the... Like, this is contradicting the earlier part of the chapter. And once again, if he was hit by Limited Void, if he was genuinely affected by Limited Void, he shouldn't have been able to walk and talk and put Maharaga away. Like, what? I don't know. This writing is like booty meat, bro. What is this? But with that being the case, we see Gojo being like... Looks like it's hitting you pretty darn hard, huh? How you feel about that, homeboy? And we see that Gojo, after having himself a little chuckle, he says, hey, I hate to tell you, bruh, my students are watching, you know? So I'm going to go ahead and keep showing off. That's my boy. Look at the gay. Look at Itadori, still sweating. Look at Akari. I think he's grinning under there. You can see kind of a little bit of a grin. Inumaki, he just looks tired, bro. Inumaki, get your hating behind out of here. Kirara looks shocked. Panda. Hear me well. If Panda has 1,000 haters, I am one of them. If Panda has 100 haters, I am one of them. If Panda has 10 haters, I am one of them. If Panda has 1 hater, I am that hater. And if Panda has 0 haters, then I have been slain by people who find that thing amusing. And even then I shall resurrect and keep hating from beyond the grave. Don't ever look at me like that, Panda. Don't make me get in this manga, bro. I will transcend dimensions to tear you out and finish what Kashimo couldn't. Don't tempt me, you filthy beast. You waste of a character. Why? Why did Nanami, Nobara, why did they have to go? But you're still here. But everyone's all nice and happy. You know, they're all seeing gang. Mad talk. I love how You know what? The one that makes me smile the most is the one of them who clearly isn't sweating and also just has the biggest grin on her face. I love that Maki's happy. Like, Maki, especially after considering what we learned about her in Shockwave Regime, where she never really considered Gojo a teacher. I really like that she's super duper happy here. She's really this seems like genuine pride. And I do like that. I like seeing that out of Maki. And Yuta, while he has a big old grin, he is still once again sweating and he has bags under his eyes. Bro did not sleep the night before this fight. He was too stressed. But we do get to see that as Sukuna starts to heal himself off, he's still struggling and going through it. And Gojo wastes no time. He pulls Sukuna in with a blue and slobber knocks him. Neither yield. The decisive battle of the strongest heads to round 2. The one who will teach you about love is, hold on. Yeah! The loneliness that comes with unrivaled strength. The one who will teach you about love is... Now, I've seen a lot of people saying that, one, this end is really, really cool. This is a really nice end of the chapter. Because Sukuna's getting punched in the mouth after talking smack. But it also is kind of weird. His marks are very hard to see here, even though they are there. They are still present. But with that being the case, people have been saying this is a callback to Yorozu's gift and that Sukuna may whip that out. I'd be fine with that. But I do think this is legitimately just like Sukuna thinking about what Yorozu said. Talking about meeting someone with unrivaled strength. And I'll admit, even though I was clowning on Sukuna for talking mad smack and calling Gojo mad ordinary, I do think that was Sukuna almost attempting to like save his own ego and be like, yeah, this guy has to be ordinary. There's no way that I was stooped to this level to like really do these tactics and be like this. But I think Sukuna is really, and once again, I do think Sukuna and Gojo both are actually loving this fight. Like down to their very cores, they are loving this battle. Regardless of the stakes behind it, regardless of what this means for the rest of their days. This is likely the only time they would actually meet someone who rivals the other. And they're enjoying that. And they're having a good time. They're loving this. They're in love. for all the Gojo Sukuna shippers out there, don't. He still looks like Megami. But, there you go. So overall, I know you may be shocked considering this is a whole bunch of complaining. But the chapter is still working. I will admit, this chapter is very much plagued by, at best, iffy writing, and if honest, bad writing, and at worst, horrible writing. Multiple different contradictions. None of it makes sense. It kind of confuses a whole lot of the story that we've had up to this point and breaks a whole bunch of rules based on how we know things work. Common sense won't prevail in the battle of the strongest. Yeah, sure. Is that just a plain excuse for bad writing? Yes. But once I turn my brain off, once I stop caring so much, I do think this battle is still cool. It was still nice to see Maharaga, even if I'm disappointed that we didn't get to see him fight. And obviously this battle continuing, hopefully in a hopefully in a more cursed technique-based front. I'm very excited to see, and I can't wait to see where Gege takes it. Very excited for 231, since we have no break next week. So, overall, a W chapter. However, that's what I think. Please tell me what you guys think in the comment section down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And make sure to notification bell so you do not miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do have a Patreon down below where you can support me for as low as $1 a month to get things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. You can also now become a member to the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Some of those perks include a live reaction to this very chapter. Now, thank you guys so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is That on the Pencil, writing off. I'd like to give a very big thank you to our $3 members, Recliner Plays and Red Bull 4765. I'd like to give another very big thank you to our $5 patrons, Alex Ice Rose, Art Goon, DemXLND, Midnight Gemlord, Red Bull 4765, and Sean. I'd like to give another very big thank you to our $10 patrons, Demokami, Joaquin, and Robbie Uchiha. I'd like to give another gargantuan thank you to our $25 member, Alex Ice Rose.